Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair, and apologies. I'm just after coming in myself now because, sorry, we had questions in the Dáil there. So first of all, I just would like to thank everyone for coming. And, you know, I think it's very important for us as a committee to listen and to see that we can make sure that we represent you, that your voices are our voices. And I know last week in particular for Elaine that it was International Week of Deaf People. And I know that, of course, we had the International Day of the Sign Language, which we marked here, as you're probably aware as well, which was really important. I just have two questions on that is, what experience of early access to sign language and services in sign language in Irish education? So what do you feel is the access there for people? And the other one is, can you share ways you have actually felt included in political culture, community and public life so that we can learn from this?
Okay. Now, do anyone want to take that question? Elaine?
Thank you, Deputy, for your question. When it comes to access, really, I have to try to just select one example. For example, if you're going to the cinema and perhaps people have you know, plenty of different choices for what to see, but when it comes to a deaf person, you only have the choice of what's subtitled, and a lot of the time that's just one film. And it very much depends on the cinema. So that's just a general example of access. When it comes to going to a restaurant, trying to order a sandwich, there can be communication barriers there. You know, even when it comes to just basic things like things being voice controlled or have sounds but no visual representation. When it comes to actually accessing physical things, physical buildings, or even speakers. A lot of the time things will just be through spoken language, but there's no access through sign language. So I hope that's enough examples, and Leanne's just going to add to that response. Thank you, Elaine. When it comes to examples in political life, in Elaine's opening statement, there's been 3 candidates, deaf candidates, that have stood for election at county council level. And myself, I was actually involved in the canvassing for that candidate. And we very much relied on voluntary interpreters in order to provide access. So we were constantly in search of interpreters who were willing to work voluntary so that we could actually interact and discuss the canvassing with the community. And say, for example, when it comes to local meetings for housing associations or the like, I'm sure you know yourself, when people go in, you know, for being involved in political life, these are regular things of being involved in different type of public meetings or different events locally that may be on. When it comes to ISL access, it very much depends. So that's a very much a negative part of political life. When we're talking about cultural life and art and design, myself and the deaf artists which we have within our community, when it comes to our deaf culture and deaf arts, I've actually been involved myself for many years. And really, it's very limited here in Ireland. We very much depend on funding that's available, and there's very limited opportunities to actually be involved and take part. We have to apply for grants, for monitoring programmes, for development programmes or the like. And even if we are to receive those grants, they can be very limited and actually be very small. And of course, we always have to factor in the cost of interpreting. Whereas when public arts, theatres and the like, it's a huge responsibility put on us rather than them to provide interpreting and to actually be aware that ISL access needs to be provided. And really, it should be the opposite way around. So I could stay here all day and give you plenty of examples, but that's just to answer your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contributions. Jennifer, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, I just do, and I want to thank Elaine for them, because, you know, we are talking about funding here too, and I mean, as Elaine just said, there's two, you know, they're just 2 examples, and you know, we need to make sure now, and I know on the Disability Committee that's what we are going to do, and I think it is our objective to make sure that funding is available. And I think a lot, you know, you do need more funding, and as you have said, always applying for grants and whatever, there should be funding there, because it's just so important that we in the committee fight in the budget to get funding there so that it's easily accessed, and you know that, and that's important for everyone. My other question would be to Joe. because I heard recently from adults with intellectual disabilities in Carlow regarding how during the COVID-19 the government didn't make information on COVID-19 in a more accessible format. I appreciate you raising the issues of accessible public communication. When you talk about information in accessible formats, can you tell me more about what that would mean? Because I just think that's important. And as I said, I was speaking to people in my own area recently. So maybe if you could come in, Joe, and just maybe give me more information on that. Thank you.
What I mean by that, Senator, is that everyone can read printed language, but some are struggling to read it, so they need to put it into simple, plain English that they can understand, because sometimes they don't get the support to do the stuff they need to do, because your support is gone home at 5 o'clock in the evening, so something might come into your house in the evening when you go home, and you might be able to understand what it is. I'm one of the lucky ones. I can read and I can understand print fairly well, but there's lots of other people out there that doesn't have the same understanding as I do.
You know, and thank you, Joe, for that. And that is an issue that we do need to look at as well. Communication and information, Joe, is key here. And again, I would like us as a committee to take this on board and make sure that we make that another priority in our agenda and for us going forward. And thank you very much for answering my questions today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank